everyone. My name is Renelle. I'm a coach here at Healthy Pro. And today we're going to talk about meal pattern documentation requirements, specifically child nutrition labels and product formulation statements. So to start off, did you know, as a director or program operator, that it's ultimately your responsibility if you don't meet the meal pattern requirements? You have to have documentation to support what you're serving, specifically if they are processed or commercially prepared foods, and you're not making them from scratch. So there's a few ways that you can do that with what's out there. The first one is a child nutrition label. So what is a CN label? It's a way manufacturers can show how their product is contributing to the meal pattern. So for mixed items that are processed, think of things like a chicken nugget or a corn dog. It's a way that manufacturers can show that, and it's approved by USDA. So they go through a process, they have to pay for that. It is voluntary, so it's not something that's required of a processed item, but it's just a really nice way to show how the item you're serving contributes. And then what items will actually have a CN label? So it is items that have meat in them. So processed items that contain at least a half an ounce minimum of meat are eligible to get a CN label. Something such as a processed cinnamon roll would not, because it doesn't contain any meat. So that is a common misconception that, any processed item could have a CN label, but specifically, it is made just for those with meat. And again, you're not required as a program operator to have products that have CN labels, but it is a really nice way to show how it is contributing. So a couple of examples. Our first one here, we have right off the product packaging. So you'll see that on the side of the box. It'll have a square around it with the initial CN, and then it will have the CN number in that top right corner, which can be verified. The USDA on their food nutrition site does have a verification report that they put out every month, and it will show, the date and if it's still active, etc. The middle one is a common one you would see maybe on a manufacturer's website or on a saved PDF. So it'll have that same little box with the CN initials around it and have the statement how it contributes. And then the last one is this one you might see with the big red letters through it that says not for documenting federal requirements. A lot of these are floating around online. It is a great reference to search for, and if ultimately it's all you can find, you can pair this with an invoice that you've ordered it and give that to your state auditor if you're up for review. So it will be acceptable if you can pair it, with an invoice. Okay, moving on to formulation statements. So if a product doesn't have a CN label, you can't get one, you can request a formulation statement. So this is just another way that a manufacturer can show how their items contribute. It does have some requirements that I'll show you on the next slide. But one thing that some don't realize is that as a director and a program operator, you're responsible for its accuracy, which can be challenging. I have come across mistakes on formulation statements, and I had to contact the manufacturer, and they have corrected them and sent them back. So just do your best, kind of scan everything, see if it makes sense, make sure the product codes are correct. And then in the middle of the formulation statement, it will list out the ingredients that they use. So anything that's creditable that they used in their product, they're required to use the food buying guide and match up those ingredients on there. And then keep in mind, a formulation statement may have multiple components. So you might have one that has meat, grains, vegetables, and they could be on separate documents. So something like a corn dog, you may have one for the meat, then you might have a separate formulation statement for the grains. So make sure to ask when you're asking a manufacturer that you're asking for all of them for all components that are creditable. Okay, as an example here, these are the requirements that a formulation statement must have in order to be official. And these are on the USDA Food Nutrition website as well. but they've got to have that letterhead, logo on it. It's got to have the product code and product number. And in the middle, this is where they will do the math calculation of what ingredient they're using and how it contributes. And then below it, they need to kind of recap what they said above with a statement. So this is, this size, this is how it contributes, and then it must be signed and dated by the manufacturer. And you want to make sure that you don't have anything older than 5 years here. So if it's approaching 5 years or outdated, you want to go ahead and try to request a more updated statement. And then lastly, this is a really cool thing that a lot of people don't realize is that on the USDA's website, they have blank formulation statements that you can send to manufacturers or someone in your local community. So say there's like a really great pizza place or bakery that you want to use to support your local community, you can send them this blank form and they can fill it out. They can put what flour they're using or what products, send it back to you, and then there you go. You have something that demonstrates how it contributes to the meal pattern, and it will be acceptable during a review. So a nice way that you can, support, and serve the products that you want to serve. And then also feel free if a manufacturer doesn't have one to, let them know about this and send it. Some manufacturers don't know about it. They maybe have only prepared things for commercial or restaurant use and they're not familiar with the child nutrition space. So you can send them these blank documents and they can fill them out for you. And then lastly, to close, if you are a Healthy Pro customer or you're thinking about it, we do have this amazing vendor database with over 200 vendors where we reach out to the manufacturer for you and we try to get those formulation statements or CN labels so that you don't have to spend that time. So we do that once a year and we try to gather them all here so they're right at your fingertips. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you learned something new.